Hey everybody, XJoe81X, and oh, look who's here. Happy New Year to you, me, and everybody. So, we're finally here. JK18, aka the Mad Scientist, is going to meter everything. And if you have 0 ohms, when you remove one side, doesn't matter which side, then the device he's testing is operational. If you do not, then that device is broken. I will have a link in the description of all 3 videos leading up to this point. What's happening if you did not watch the other 3? I press the start button and nothing happens. The timer grinds and clicks and makes all sorts of noises, and that's it. The drum doesn't turn, and there's no heat because the drum doesn't turn. So the very quick thing is to meter all this with an ohm meter. If you have zeros, there you go. You just keep going to the next thing and the next thing. In my previous video, I showed a burnt wire. We will bring that into play a little bit later. So here we are testing everything and eliminating one thing at a time. I do have a new timer on the shelf. I do have other parts, but before we get started and Jay metered everything, the next thing would be to make the whip, because nothing else could run with that whip. Comments, concerns, or?
Not yet. I just got to poke around till I know what's going on.
Okay, so we'll be right back. So we kind of tested the timer a little bit, sort of, kind of. There's 2 contacts. We put the meter on it. Jay turned it, and it kind of went on and off, which means that it's working. And
there's a black and a red wire on the timer. Remove those and put an ohm meter across it, and we get and don't get continuity depending on exactly where the timer is turned, which indicates that those contacts are good. These should run the motor and all the rest of the machine. So that kind of indicates that the timer might be okay. Meantime, this dryer has a circuit board. See if you want to see that a little closer. I don't know where it is.
Yep.
And that circuit board has a capacitor and a bunch of resistors and maybe a transistor or 2 on there and a chip. And it lives over here. I don't know what it does or why, but I took it out and I just erasered the contacts. It's going to be a video on my channel coming up dealing with computers and erasing contacts. Helps, clean the memory out and stuff like that. So we're going to just put that back, make believe that never happened. The elephant in the room is this burnt wire, and this needs fix, because this ain't gonna.
which still could have been the problem of it shutting off. But if it shut off, shouldn't have something also thermaled out and be broken?
Not necessarily. If a wire just breaks off, then
sure,
that could clearly do it. Even though the
you're testing continuity?
well, we'll just check the wire, even though it's all beat up at the other end, just for fun.
Right.
Whoop, gotta hit the right button on this thing. That should be it. And if we go in there, something should get barely. But yeah, Joe has shown this in another video. It's kind of. It might be bad.
Yeah, just a tad?
Just a tad bad.
I also mentioned to him, I know this dryer is older, but it's just burning. But it's like an old car. It's burning oil, but it still runs. And it's supposed to have all this safety equipment, so it doesn't just ignite itself.
It hasn't burned the house down yet, so
nope.
It's done its job.
So we're going to use this little workstation and pause right here, and we're going to get this wire up and ready and installed. So we're just, unfortunately, we have the other end, and this is the big end. Why did they, whatever, different current? It's kind of illogical because if you have a big thing going into a small thing, then okay, we'll worry about that another time.
Yeah, pretty much we're stuck with these terminals. With this one terminal, I don't have one to fit it.
But we'll fix it. You'll know.
We're gonna do the right thing. This is just a temporary. See if we can solder this, because this iron is not. I need like a soldering gun. If I would have known, I would have brought mine. But
It's okay. It'll get hot enough. I've done bigger wires. So we're getting this connection back on the original wire. I cut it back. That's the connection we did. Nicey nice. We're just getting this on. We are diagnosing this dryer. We still don't know what's wrong. We have to get this back on just so it thinks it's going to work. Okay, so we fixed this wire for now. Again, the top is brand new. Here it is. The bottom is soldered. It's as tight as it's going to be. All it did was it looped to this one. And we replaced this one right here because it was also burnt. So now what we're going to do is plug it in and take it from there. So now we're going to plug it in. Nothing should happen. Ready?
yeah.
Ready. Okay. The juice is loose.
All right. So before I do anything, two things. I don't know if you can tell from your vantage point, but there is a red and a black wire. I removed those and metered that, and depending on the position in the timer, it has and doesn't have continuity. That has something to do with the motor and heating element and all that. We open the door. We do have a light, so that's working. The catch on this door is needs a little work. It's kind of loose. Do not do this. 220 volts are going through the timer.
I don't think Jay wants to do it.
We have fixed the wires, metered all of the sensors. Everything appears to be good. The circuit board, we cleaned the contacts on. Everything else is a go. I'm going to just try hitting the start button now. I'm pretty sure nothing will happen. Then I'll move the timer and we'll just keep trying it and see if we get anything.
Yes, that's the crunching noise it made.
But only when held.
Yes.
The crunching noise is okay, but this push to start switch is clicking loud.
Well, I jumped it out. I jumped it out off camera. There's only 2 wires.
Yeah.
And it did the same clicking.
Weird. Okay. So I can grab the timer here and give it a whirl. And as long as that button is held, the timer motor runs. And something is vibrating in here. Very odd. Could still be a bad timer. That's
Yes, we will
step.
swap it out because we can. So that's going to be the next step.
I guess that's the next step. It could still be a bad motor. We don't know yet.
Right, let's swap it out. So what I did was swap the wires for the new timer. There's the old one, and there is the new one. Now it's time to plug it in and see what happens. Okay, we're going to introduce power back to the machine.
Before you plug it, much more solid action.
Yeah.
That is serious.
Okay, man, you want to check the door first? The light
I can check the door, man.
Light turns on.
The light is on.
You can see it right there.
I see the light.
Right.
What is up with this latch on this door?
Yeah, slam it. Well, yeah, well, be careful because now your left hand is. Okay, so we got to press
It's not
that.
my hand. I got to watch out slamming this door.
Oh, PG-13.
All right, we're gonna try. I don't know where the timer is, but this has a much more pronounced. When you turn it, it just feels stronger. Probably still won't work, but we can try that. We're just gonna hit the start button here and see what happens. Same as before. Turn it somewhere here. Still dead. Crunchy sounds. Same thing pretty much anywhere. Try that, try that, try that. So we have to look inside the machine.
Damn.
So yeah, in case you haven't realized, I don't know what the fuck I'm actually doing here. I just make it look good. I don't know if it's in frame or if you can see the door switch. Now, Tollboy had commented on one of X281X's videos and said, check the door switch. Well, now we have the machine open enough to check the door switch. And as such, there is a yellow, an orange, a blue, and a white. And I don't know what I'm supposed to meter. And I didn't review the video on the guide. It says to unplug the dryer from the wall outlet and open the controls panel. So I didn't check any of that. But looking at the switch with the 3 contacts, it said one is normally open, one is normally closed, and a common. And we metered it with the meter, and that's exactly how it metered. So the door switch is good. The latch for it is still awful, but that's another story.
That doesn't stop it from working.
Right. We need to go down into the bottom of the machine because up here is the only other thing to test. So now we need, what are these, 1/4 inch or something?
Rickety Ron. Okay.
It goes out and pull the front off, and then the whole drum falls out and rolls down the block and kills 3 cats and 2 dogs.
No.
Then you got to go pick it up and take it to the John.
Oh. Okay, let's remove the drum from the drum assembly.
All right, so we have everything temporary over here. That is connected, so the dryer will otherwise operate. And we got a meter, and we metered stuff. And in fact, I could show you while we're here, just going from ground. Let me just get in position. There we go. There is 123 volts and, you know, various other things as you go along the connector. So voltage is getting to the motor, but the motor is not running. Now, there are a total of 6 wires on here, and one of them happens to be a very heavy red wire. I don't know if that interconnects with the heating element or not. I wouldn't be surprised to learn that it does. And then there's some kind of sorcery that happens within the connector to interconnect various things here and give power to other things, like not giving power to the heating element unless the motor is running. Kind of just makes sense, but I don't know if it does any of that. And like I said, this is a much thicker wire than even the other red that's there. Certainly.
Would there be
thicker.
Would there be some kind of thermal overload on the motor itself?
Yes, the motor can thermal out, but it should have reset by now, and it is non-serviceable if it fails. The motor certainly spins free. It sounds just like one of these. This is not the original motor. The original motor died years ago. I think you had a video on that.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a link to that in the prescription. So I know we're kind of parts cannoning this, but really what else do we have? I mean, let's think about it. You got a big machine. It looks daunting. There's some wires. The wires are still looking like wires, and they're not broken. There's The start switch is good because it definitely does something when you press it. It's only 2 connections on there. Joe has tried to jump across that and no change with any of that. In pressing that switch while the meter was hooked up, we would see a change on the meter in that it's telling it try to do something and it's not doing something. So it's kind of pointing to bad motor. They can fail open like that. I don't.
What about
see
bad heating element?
Did we not meter that before? We did meter it.
Oh, that's true too. Those sensors on the back would have indicated that they're broken.
Right.
If they
or if the
didn't.
heating element itself, I did measure across that as well, and there was continuity on the heating element. So the heating element should be fine. But I will double check that just as a matter of course. So I'm kind of leaning toward bad motor, but
It still spins, so why would it be bad, right?
Yeah, but then again, you never know. Everything else looks good. The weights are there. Everything is doing what it's supposed to as far as motor looking stuff. These are not the highest quality motors, okay? That is definitely a downfall on the Whirlpool Kenmore side. These are kind of junky, and I've seen plenty of these replaced in the past. My late father-in-law had to replace one on his dryer, and then for some reason they ended up shit-canning that entire dryer sometime later on for some other issue, and he took all the parts out of it and gave that to my dad. So he had a spare motor that worked. Then my dad's motor died. He brought it to a motor shop and they basically laughed at him and said, "What kind of excuse for a motor is this?" And then they said, "Yeah, we've seen these fail plenty."
Can you jump the motor?
If I knew what to jump here, the best we would get is the heating element to start or anything like that.
Well, okay.
The guy, the appliance man, did have a video at one point where you would make a cord out of like an old lamp cord and put terminals on that and then plug them onto the appropriate something or others on here, and it would make the motor run so you could test the motor. That's something that could be tried. I guess before you spend $150 or whatever it is would be worth it. And, you know, just test it out of the machine kind of thing. But I do remember it was kind of a pain in the ass to unbolt it. Or undo it. There's a clip.
Yeah, I think I did this on video.
Yeah, and one in the back, and then you have to undo the fan blade.
Yes, I did it myself with more room, but yeah. Okay, so we're just going to go to the internet and take it from there, and we'll be back when we get back.
Yep. Well, folks, it's come down to this. Jay's janky wiring. Okay, so I was right, actually. I love how I can bullshit stuff and be right, because I know what I'm talking about. Indeed, the heating element will not get power unless that motor is running. And it is switched, indeed, through the motor and all of that, which is exactly what I described through the connector, just based on the gauge of the wire. Oops, I guess I knew something. The leads that power the motor itself and make the motor spin are connected via some alligator clip wires that are certainly not of a heavy enough gauge for this. For a test, either we blow up the set of test leads or it'll just work, which usually is what happens. And pretty much at this point, this will prove the motor to be good or bad. Now, what I should actually do is meter that to see if there's continuity first, but, you know, why do that? We can just plug it in for a second and see, and either sparks will shoot out of it or something, so I think we're just kind of ready to go.
All right, well, Jay's going to blip it. If the shaft turns, we be what you call foobarred. Jay will holler when he blips it.
Smoke test!
Oh. Okay.
Well, that means the motor's good.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is stop this video. we might have the necessary, we might have the stuff here. It could be a sensor that reads falsely, but we'll take a deep breath, we'll blip it off camera again, and then we'll get the minds going.
Okay, we still have not fixed it, and we found something interesting. Earlier, we had replaced that connector right there because that was kind of burnt off. We're metering all the sensors, which we kind of did before, and we found something weird. Whatever that is, shouldn't be that way, because this one isn't. It's nice and strong. Something got real hot.
And discolored it.
And also burnt up that connector.
Now we replaced it.
But it still doesn't work.
Still doesn't work. And we did this. I have parts. We did this. Doesn't matter if it's
We're
in.
at the parts cannon stage, but we have the parts on hand.
I have this, which is right here. And the only thing I didn't replace is this, because this is the actual heating element little piece that's in here. But Jay, this is also wobbly, but I think it's just a heating element. So to reiterate it, Jay says that this fan has to spin on the other side and the drum in order for the probably brain or the electronic part to say, hey, we're spinning, turn the heat on. So we're not even getting a spin.
So I've been here for a couple of hours, and we've tested all kinds of stuff, and we applied power to the motor ran. The timer, we tested that, we put in another timer and tested that, and still it didn't work, and nothing was adding up. Things weren't the dryer was not starting. In the earliest part of the video, you saw me sitting there with a multimeter. Well, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know what I'm doing. And there was something that I noticed that was a little peculiar, but it didn't click off in my brain as far as why it is like that. And then that was further confounded by the fact that another part tested the same way. What we have, if you want to come down here for a second, let me just move the meter out of the way, is the thermal fuse. Very simple device. Now, I had metered this, and it did not show continuity. Red flag did go off in my mind saying, that probably should have continuity, but okay, we'll see, whatever. When it was disconnected or unbolted from the machine, whole bunch of lint. And you can see where the screw was. So this was certainly being insulated in some way of some kind. We had a replacement for this, and we metered it. And we had, in fact, I'll just do it because everything's right here. Okay, so meter is good. Here is the thermal fuse, and this meter's no continuity. Nothing. And the one in the machine was metering the same way. And in my mind, it said, well, if two parts are metering exactly the same, then both are likely good. Actually, in this case, both were bad. We had either a new defective part or something. Maybe it was used and thrown in the box instead of the garbage. I don't know what it was. But we found another one, which interestingly enough already had, it looked like their connections were made on it before. They did not look pristine. That thermal fuse that's in there has continuity. You can, well, we'll do it because we're here and, this is the internet and Joe and I don't make fake videos. So we'll just pull one of the wires. Just get that out of the way. And I get a connection there. So that now is good. And if we take that and put that back on, and then I get up, which does not get easier as you get older, we can now take the plug. Now, we do have the door switch dummied up, so we have no way to stop this except to unplug it, which is fine for a test. And of course, nothing else is legal. But we plug the dryer in and press the magic start button. And the dryer is fixed. This was due to 2 parts metering bad. And it didn't come to mind
That could have initiated the thermal.
that is possible, because this is loose. Let me just drop that.
That didn't help it.
It certainly didn't help it.
But the
And
lint.
when we metered it, which we might be able to actually just redo
Yes.
while we're here. Okay, so let's get on the good side. I got in the thing. Nothing, but
That is no bueno. No
definitely no good. So this was certainly bad because of that, and the burned connector.
I think the thermal overload was more of the lint, but that also was failing and creating a bubble with the heat and sparking.
Yes.
I don't think they failed together. I think that was still running, but I think the plastic piece with the lint up by your foot over there was the ultimate demise of saying, hey, I can't make heat. I can't turn the fan. Hey, service this, service this.
So the lint we know is no good. This part we know is no good. And this thermal fuse, which we metered, we'll just double check again just because we can, is also no good.
And that was in
And that
my stuff.
go in the garbage also. So there you go.
I'm keeping the timer because it was like $19.97, and
That's a great deal, and I'd say that's a safe bet to
and
keep.
this is it. This is the hoard. There's a pump back there. There's actually, I think Jay owes me a pump.
Yes, I have one for you.
Yes,
You owe
but
me money for it.
right. So we're gonna wrap this up. There's no need to show any of you putting this back together because that's another 20-30 minute video.
Right.
I'm going to show you me. I'm going to look at this camera. I'm going to just say hit like and hit subscribe.
Just remember, as I told this story with Sharky's AC, when that went bad, it's all in a day's work. It's fixed. There we go.
Son of a bitch.